During our discussion of animals, I'd like to take a moment and talk about the snakes in Kentucky that are venomous. Interestingly, in Kentucky we have 4 types of venomous snakes, but only 4 species of venomous snakes. We have copperheads, shown on this particular slide. We have rattlesnakes, shown in the bottom picture of this slide. Actually, we have 2 types of rattlesnakes. On this slide we have the timber rattlesnake. We have the pygmy rattlesnake, shown in the upper right-hand picture on this slide. And then we have a snake referred to as a water moccasin or cottonmouth, shown in the bottom 2 pictures on this particular slide. So if we think about our venomous snakes, then we see that only the copperheads, shown here in the upper right, are found throughout the entire state of Kentucky. Copperheads are relatively rare in developed areas, but they are found in every county in the state. If we look at our rattlesnakes, we see that timber rattlesnakes are found throughout most of the state of Kentucky. They are not found in central Kentucky, here in Wilmore or in Lexington. But if you go south to Richmond and a little bit further south of Richmond in the southern edge of Madison County, you begin to run into rattlesnakes. And so there's this area where they are not found in central Kentucky, extending all the way up into northern Kentucky. Pygmy rattlesnakes are only found in a very small area in the very western portion of the state. They're a very uncommon snake, found in just a very small part of western Kentucky. Water moccasins, or cottonmouths, are also found only in western Kentucky. You have to go fairly far west of Bowling Green to at least Logan County or so before you start to encounter water moccasins or cottonmouths. It's a common misconception that water moccasins are found in central Kentucky. We do have another snake known as a northern water snake that's very common and in some ways resembles a cottonmouth, but we do not have cottonmouths or water moccasins, same thing, 2 different names for the same snake, found here in central Kentucky. So we want to take just a moment talking about how you would recognize a venomous snake if you happen to come across one here in Kentucky. And there are several characteristics that fortunately all our venomous snakes share that we can use to recognize them. How will I know a venomous snake if I meet one? The first characteristic that we can use is head shape. All the venomous snakes of Kentucky are what we refer to as pit vipers. This means they have heat-sensing pits that are found in the sides of their head, and as a consequence of this, they have a large triangular-shaped head. If we look at the timber rattlesnake found in this picture, we see a snake that has a large, flat, triangular-shaped head. All our venomous snakes have this very distinct head shape. A second characteristic that we can use to identify snakes, and it's very distinctive and very unique, is that all the venomous snakes in Kentucky have what we refer to as a cat eye pupil. If you look at the pupil of the snake, a rattlesnake in this case, found in both pictures on this slide, you see that the pupil is a very distinctive vertically elongated slit. All the other snakes in Kentucky have a perfectly round pupil. And so the venomous snakes of Kentucky all have this slit, and that's certainly a dead giveaway, indicating that the snake is venomous. The other way that you can distinguish a venomous snake in Kentucky is simply by knowing something about the color patterns. And so if we look at our snakes, we see that each snake has a very distinctive color pattern. Of course, rattlesnakes do have rattles, so that's certainly a dead giveaway. But if we look at the copperheads and cottonmouths, we see that they have a fairly distinctive color pattern. And so if we familiarize ourselves with those color patterns, it will help us recognize venomous snakes. Venomous snakes are very commonly confused, or I should say non-venomous snakes are very commonly confused with venomous snakes. Snakes are very useful organisms and perform a useful role in our ecosystems, and so it's very useful to be able to distinguish between a venomous and non-venomous snake and not to harm non-venomous snakes. You'll also notice that I'm using the term venomous as opposed to poisonous. Interestingly, the term poisonous actually refers to something that is dangerous if you eat it, and so you eat it and it contains a toxin that makes you sick. Venomous implies that an organism bites you and injects venom into your body, and so there is a distinction between those 2 terms. Venomous is the correct term to use to refer to snakes, which can impart poison with a bite, or a toxin with a bite. We should also note that these rules that I've just described are only good for the state of Kentucky. If you go to the south or to the east, you will find a snake referred to as the coral snake. Coral snakes are very venomous, but they do not have the patterns that we talked about.